I work at IBASE. IBASE is an NGO that has been built in Brazil after the dictatorship. Many people during the dictatorship have been in exile. And some of those people coming back when we were already building redemocratization of Brazil came, and those people, one of them is Betinho, he has been a very important leader in Brazil. He came back with the idea of democracy in a more deep way than the idea in which the left of his time has used democracy. At that time, many people that have been engaged in the army struggles, they thought that democracy is something that we will achieve after socialism. So in the meantime, we don't need to be very democratic. After that, I think for us at IBASE at least, Betinho was a very revolutionary person, because in the beginning of the 80s, he said that democracy is not something that we will achieve, but is the way through which we can build a real democratic and justice society. So at that moment in time, he connected the struggles for justice with the struggle for democracy. So in my organization, this is the very deep basis, the very deep root of an understanding of democracy as the way through which it's possible to build a better world. So it's not that you can split democracy for the struggles for justice. And struggling for justice and peace is part of building democracy. That means that democracy is not something that should tolerate what is unjust, but other way around. Is democracy the way in which, together with others, respecting and listening to the different perspectives, you can build really a common understanding of the world and a better society. I think the most important thing is to understand that this diversity of ways of connecting with life and explaining life to our own self is quite important. So I want to learn with Western. I want to learn with the philosophy of Western, and I've been learning a lot with that. So I don't want to put everything and throw it away. The question is that if you don't think that this is the answer and the only answer, we can be in the same level and we can have, as you said, a new balance of knowledge. This is in what I believe. And I think Boaventura de Souza Santos used a concept that I like very much, that is the concept of intercultural translation. That means that some words that I use as Brazilian could be not exactly the same words that as an Indian Vandana will use. That somebody coming from the Indian region, Gustavo, that you have been talking here, he can use another word. But if we try to understand each other, there are possibilities of intercultural translations in which the word itself is used to communicate and not to dismiss the others. So in that sense, if we really are searching for a common understanding, all the perspectives are quite important. In the 70s, when the dictatorship finishes in Brazil, some people that have been in exile here in Europe, they came back home as the environmentalists. They were very particular. We looked to them as very strange people. They were always talking about environment, and it did not make sense at that time. Nowadays, is not that environment is something out of our life, or something specific that is very much close in a kind of understanding. The understanding that we live in a planet, that our life is connected to the life of the planet, that our human beings, we as human beings, in our diversity, we depend on the life of Earth, changes everything. So that's not that only the environmentalist as a specific movement has something to say. Is that all our understanding of economy, of politics, of human relations has to do to the deep understanding that as human beings, as Evo Morales says, we belong to Earth. Earth do not belong to us. see human being in terms of the all existing of the life of the planet is 5 seconds in the whole moment of the creation. We need a pluralist narrative. Second, we need a new utopian horizon in terms of to where we are going. Third, we need a transition way of coming from now to that moment. We need to build a transition to a new model of life. And third, of course, we need people engaged. And people to be engaged, we need symbols, we need strong words, we need important ideas. But it's a combination of all of that. It's not only the symbol, it's not only the narrative. And the narrative will be built with many voices. So I don't think we are going to have the narrative. And I hope we don't have the narrative. Because if we have already, and again, one narrative, this means that we were going to kill many other perspectives. So how to build a complex, a dense, a diverse narrative with different symbols. I can talk about well-living, bien vivir, because I'm coming from Latin America. But Vandana Shiva can talk about another thing. And here in Europe, the croissants, the decrescita, they are talking about happiness, austerity. All of us can understand ourselves. We don't need to use the same word. I don't need to talk about the growth. I can talk about well-living, but we can understand ourselves. So we don't need one common narrative. What we need and what the World Social Forum provides is a space for us to come to common understandings on the diversity.